Hello all of you beautiful people, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, and today I have a very special video for you because we're talking about lies. Now, nobody likes being lied to, but sometimes video games can't even wait to get the game into your console before they're fibbing to your face. Now, I've already covered this before and I'm back with 10 more, so let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 more insane lies told on video game box art. Number 10, World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King. No aerial dogfights. A whopping 13 years since its release, Wrath of the Lich King is still considered to be the best expansion that the legendary MMO/meat grinder known as World of Warcraft has ever had. Players were introduced to the icy wastes of Northrend, facing off against new villains such as the Lovecraftian nightmare Yogg-Saron, and of course the titular Lich King, which remains one of World of Warcraft's best raids. The Death Knight hero class was also a welcome addition for high-level players who wanted to both tank it up and deal some major damage. However, and yes, you will be seeing this Columbo-style face turn to camera, there was something on the box that kind of was, well, how do I put it? Oh yeah, a flagrant lie. Aerial dogfighting? Where the hell was that in this? Engage in aerial dogfights with flying mounts and new gnome-engineered planes. It sounds pretty exhilarating, right? Taking the fight to the skies with your hard-earned flying mount felt like a logical progression for the series. But it turns out that you just couldn't. For some reason, Blizzard just said, nah, we're not putting aerial dogfights in this, although they did quote that it was actually quite difficult to get the physics right. But seeing as we are X number of years on since this point, and the fact that they haven't materialized kind of means that fixing physics is not at the top of the priority list for Blizzard. Number 9, Bubsy 3D, fake reviews in abundance. I tell you kids, does the 3D in Bubsy 3D stand for 3D graphics or 3 deceptions? It's the latter. Well, technically it's both. Shut up. For one, there's a very prominent EGM quote in the upper quadrant whose liberal use of ellipses immediately belies its duplicity. Bubsy 3D is stunning and original, so it claims. Now these words, in context as part of a preview no less, actually had little to do with the game itself. Then there's the laudatory praise from PS Extreme magazine to go alongside their much coveted Gold X award. Or indeed it would have been much coveted if it and the publication itself had actually existed. So what did EGM actually think of Bubsy 3D back on Planet Reality? Oh yes, they listed it as their 7th worst game, and say it with me kids, of all time. Now that is an achievement. Number 8, Outrun for the ZX Spectrum, a huge visual downgrade. So trying to cram Yu Suzuki's Dolce Vita of an experience Outrun onto the ZX Spectrum was kind of like asking a shrew to stand up to a tiger, because the console, well, it was, oh my god, levels of weak. Additional embellishment was hardly necessary to sell the game to owners of Clive Sinclair's Rainbow Sash system. Just having the opportunity to play it on the computer at all was reason enough for excitement. So Spectrum owners must have blown their metaphorical open tops when they saw what was on offer for them, at least according to the back of the US Gold published box. It was still about 100 colours and several million scaling calculations away from being anything like its arcade source, but look at it, a foreground tree, more than 4 sprites, a vague suggestion of 3D. But this breezy dream came crashing to a halt when players actually got their hands on it, because of course the images we saw on the box art were completely false. They weren't. The Spectrum wasn't able to produce that amount of graphical quality. No, not at all. This was less driving out into the sunset and more being stuck in traffic. Number 7, Hulk Hogan's main event. You don't even play as Hulk Hogan. So Hulk Hogan's main event is a game that exists. That is probably the most positive praise that I can give it, because seriously, everything about this title utterly stinks. It was lambasted for its poorly implemented motion controls, which could barely register many of the movements required to make it. It also had a terrible visual style and poor voice work, and is ranked on countless worst games ever lists. But hey, at least we got to play as everyone's favourite leathery skinned racist, right? Well, no, Hulk Hogan is in this game, but you can't play as him. Good? No, the player instead creates their own incredibly forgettable wrestling personality and is merely mentored by Hogan in putting on a show, winning over the crowd, and presumably being openly and unapologetically bigoted. Far from being main event, this is wrestling in the circus sense, an absolute sideshow attraction that people kind of regret paying for. Number 6, Sega GTX Online. No transferring from previous versions. So we all know in this day and age, video game franchises' tendency to hover around the big old reset button, pressing it yearly to make us start from the ground up all over again. Now, it's something that we bought in part and parcels of the franchises like the WWE games and all of the sports simulator titles out there, but sometimes hitting that reset button is just a big shame and a big lie. Because those who adopted Sega GT 2002 sequel, Sega GT Online, were actually looking forward to being able to import their currencies and their cars thanks to a little bit of blurb on the game's box which boasted that the Internet Edition would invite a motorcade from the previous version to its new garages. It sounded too good to be true, and indeed it was. Though it was possible to transfer some goods and currency between the titles, cars, well, they were going to be left completely by the wayside, which is a real shame because that, the last time I checked in a racing game, is the thing that you actually use quite a lot. Number 5, Spore, creature designs that weren't in the game. So Will Wright's Spore was something of a paradox, a god game which conversely promoted a decidedly Darwinian view on things, allowing you to guide the most primitive of creatures up the evolutionary ladder from single-celled amoeba to highly advanced spacefaring civilizations. And across the way they probably pick up an extra eye and about 5 other legs. But here's the problem. While you could create all manner of monstrosities in this game, the creatures that were featured on the box art never appear at all. That's really strange, right? When you've got all this manner of customization and craziness, why are these guys here that we used to promote your game not actually included at all? Weird. Number 4, Discovery Kids' Dolphin Discovery, screenshots from another game. Discovery Kids' Dolphin Discovery, a 2009 piece of Nintendo DS edutainment shovelware in which your purpose is to raise porpoises like some weird Echo the Dolphin and Nintendogs hybrid, is naturally awash with the ocean's most entertaining mammals. And as you'd expect, there's a screenshot of one of these flippery folk on the game's box. But there's just one problem. That screenshot, that's not from this game, but an aquatic adjacent game called My Pet Dolphin. That, to the dolphin genre, is akin to the latest FIFA slapping a snap of Pez on the back, aka completely unforgivable. But the strangest thing about all of this is that this duplicate dolphin image that they've used on this box art is worse than the graphics of this game. Why would you steal from something that is inferior? Number 3, Action Girls Racing, a game designed by girls that actually wasn't. So the first thing that you'll notice about this box art is that it is very, very pink. And the second thing that you'll notice is that it says, this is a game designed by girls for girls. It wasn't. Moving on. Number 2, Big Rigs Over the Road Racing. No cops, no loads, no gameplay. Ooh, baby, we get to talk about a game that I actually unashamedly love, even though it's sitting on an 8 out of 100 Metacritic score. It is Big Rigs Over the Road Racing, a game that you literally cannot lose because the AI is programmed to stop before the finish line, and then there's a spelling mistake when you actually win the race. It is chef kiss. So you could say that it being a game overall is a big lie because the stuff that it promises on the box art, like functional racing, doesn't actually appear in it at all. But this piece of art is, of course, a big lie and depicts a police car in pursuit of an eponymous contraband-carrying big rig. Overall, it's a fair representation of the game as described by the box, in which you'll be hauling loads and trying to stay one step ahead of the law. But here's the problem. At no point do you ever carry loads, and at no point are you ever chased by police. Why would you lie about this? It makes no sense. Your game is already absolutely terrible at this point, so they were just kind of like, just put cops and loads on the back. Load of cops and loads. That's what it should have been called, cops and loads. Well, I wasn't spunking mine over this game. And number 1, the Atari 2600 Chess, a game that doesn't even exist. So the term serving suggestion is rarely seen on video game boxes in the same way that it might be on, I don't know, say a tin of sun-dried tomatoes. But perhaps it should be, because that would have avoided the deeply brined pickle, which is also a serving suggestion, Atari found themselves in upon the launch of their iconic Atari VCS console, when a small bit of artistic license left the company with their hams absolutely steamed, also a serving suggestion. So here's the story with this one. When the box art for the console came out, it depicted that there was a chess game that was going to be included. Now, apparently one person obviously maybe more than one person because there's quite a lot of chess fans out there, but one person in note bought this console, took it home, found that there was no chess game on it, and then sued Atari. And here's the kicker, did so with the provision that they go on and make a chess game rather than pay the person out. So they made a game that they never ever wanted to appease somebody trying to sue them. That is utterly brilliant, and will also serve you to never lie in your box arts again, Atari. Just let the quality of your games speak for you then. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 more insane lies that were told on video game box art. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, where I do all of my streaming outside of work, and it'd be great to see you over there, my friends. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Lying is never good under any circumstances, and we should never lie to ourselves and try to pretend that things are okay when they aren't, because you know what? Not being okay, that's perfectly okay from time to time. Remember, you can speak to people, friends, family, professionals in the support industry, because these people care about you and want you to do well. So don't go around trying to pretend that things are okay when they're not, because trust me, in the long run, it doesn't work out all that well sometimes. So treat yourself with love and respect, and be true to yourself at the same time. As always, I've been Jules, you have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.